Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is honestly gonna be like a very quick video on like where I think price could go coming into June, since we're now ending near May. This is something I kind of want to start doing around like the end of the month, just looking at what price did and practically just doing a top-down analysis for future. Like if you guys swing trade, this could be beneficial to you, or just in general. Um, it's May 27th right now, 2025. We're about to come into June. We're about to near. Well, we're ending off May pretty bullish, pretty bullishly, and I don't know. I just figured I was like, might as well. I do this on my free time a lot, usually on the weekly and the daily, to just figure out where my bias is gonna be for the week. But I figured why not do it for like the end of the month and just see where June could take us potentially. Obviously, like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm literally unprofitable. However, I do think this just could probably be good insight for, I don't know, I'll just spew out my thoughts, and if anyone just decides to listen, or at least just see if I'm right or what, to see how it comes. But let's talk about it. So, like I said, May 27th, 2025. I usually don't look at the 3 month. I just clicked on it right now, and I see that we just quite literally are rejecting from this monthly, well, this 3 month order block, which is technically a monthly order block. If we come down in, as you can see here, price ended up coming down into this whole range of an order block from April, as you recall that big dip with the tariff news, and then we ended up creating a doji candle from that. However, we did reject from it, ended up confirming that we were going to be bullish. We ended up breaking monthly structure. Let me mark out this order block right here. We ended up breaking monthly structure, however, but on the contrary note, I do think we will um continue as bullish, especially since what really caught my eye was this imbalance. We really have just a large imbalance that is pretty strongly looking like it's going to get disrespected. It doesn't look like we're going to be respecting this imbalance anymore to go any more lower, and which is why I wanted to make this video. I do think potentially during the summer, um, we could potentially take out some new monthly highs, maybe even reach for all-time highs later on in the summer. Potentially in June, I don't think so. I'm not too sure, but I do think in the summer we could potentially see new all-time highs, especially if we inverse this gap, and we don't really have any crazier news that comes out in the future. That's like one of my main reasons why I wanted to make this video. If you look at the weekly, um, the next weekly objective for me, honestly, like after within the next day or within the next week, I do want to see this gap. I do want to see this gap get inversed. Oh my god. Okay. I do want to see this gap get inversed right here, as well as I want to see this internal high get taken out. Um, Potentially we could have a consolidating week here, but with how strong we are closing on the monthly, like how I said before, strong displacements usually mean we're not gonna stop. Um, we could potentially inverse this gap as well with a strong gap, and then come over for this next external high right here on the weekly, and then potentially again, like I said, during the summer, all-time highs. But potentially we could come into this order block, consolidate for a little bit. As TJR did say last week, he was expecting a little sell-off, and that is exactly what we had. We also had created a little gap, potentially. I don't think that we'd want to come into this gap, especially since we just inversed off of this gap and officially we ended up creating this weekly breaker. We ended up creating this weekly inversion, so I don't think we'd wanna come into come down into this gap to continue lower. If we do, that'll be even better, but I personally don't think so. However, I do think that we would want to come into this gap and just genuinely, just based off what the charts are telling us, potentially maybe consolidate for a little bit on the daily, and on the weekly we'll just end up inverting it and then coming off for these new monthly highs, these new monthly external highs right here. Same thing on ES. That's pretty much where I see market coming towards. On the weekly, we ended up inversing this little tiny gap, literally 2 weeks ago. So that's pretty much nothing. And then, alright, there's gonna be a cut. But like I said, weekly objectives obviously would just be this external high. From there, we would probably see like a little doji candle on the dailies. not really weekly. Like I said, with strong displacement, we are gonna continue higher. Um, on the daily. However, I would like to see a couple doji candles have already been forming. Like I said, it's looking like we're gonna want to break out of this little tiny range that we have to create this daily order block, weekly order block technically after we close above, and then from there I'd honestly want to see a retrace back into this level for us to continue higher, and then after we continue higher, my daily external objectives would really just be this high, and then I'd want to see this gap get tapped into, as well as inverted. I don't think inverted is the way. Inversioned. I don't even think that's a word as well. And then from there we'd come out for new monthly highs. Um, for monthly highs and then potentially all-time highs. But like I said, I don't see all-time highs getting reached until um like mid-June or like later on in the summer. Um, I could be wrong. However, this is like at least my projection, at least especially with all the news that's been coming out recently and how the U.S. stock index and the S&P 500 have been regaining back on their feet, as well as Bitcoin. As you guys should know, the indexes follow Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin follows the indexes. So as you can see, Bitcoin literally just hit. Um, oh snap! I don't have it. Wow, I guess I don't have it on this. Hold on. Oh, right here. Bitcoin just hit 110,000. Like literally, like a couple days ago, a couple hours ago actually. Like we just hit all-time highs, and as you can see, with all-time highs, we have been picking up on um the U.S. indexes as well. Um, this is basically like how I see it. Okay, bruh, bruh. Okay, yeah, but this is basically how I see June coming along. I do see June with pretty bullish strength. Unless we have any crazy news within the next 2 days, well, 3 days technically, that tells us no, we're not going to inverse this gap, we're going to continue lower. I do see price inverting this gap pretty strongly, and then from there, um, we'll continue to reclaim for these new internal highs, and then continue potentially for these external highs, and then continue for that new all-time highs for the summer. But yeah, um, honestly, this video was pretty much inspired by me just looking at the chart right now. I just finished up watching freaking ICT, um, rewatching core content, learning a lot, and I'm just starting. I take notes on Google Docs mainly because the notes I take on paper are like the notes that I like genuinely like I deem useful. The notes that are on my Google Doc, I'm usually just going to just print them out and just staple them, to be honest. But yeah, this is like this is like my first like I guess you could say top down analysis or like monthly slash weekly projections for June, especially since we're coming to an end. But yeah, my first main objective is this draw, and then since we'll be in this gap, I do expect us to stay in this range for a bit, maybe at least for a week. I don't know about a doji candle, but I'd at least want to see a weekly candle close here, and then taking out a daily high, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Um, I'll make more. I'll try to make more of these if you guys enjoy them. If you guys actually like found it useful, just to hear me yap about my predictions at least, like in what market is telling us. But as of right now, I see no reason to be like bearish at all, especially since we just rejected from a freaking monthly order block, ended up filling in so many imbalances, and still continue to show strong bullishness. So I don't know, unless we get something that ends up crashing this whole damn thing. I'm personally bullish for the next month. But yeah, it's gonna be kind of interesting to see how the summer plays out and to see if I was right or if I was wrong. If I was wrong, good for improvement. If I was right, it also seeks for improvement as well because that just means I'm just getting better, which is pretty good. But I mean, yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, I'll see you guys in the next top-down analysis whenever I do it. If you guys actually liked it, and yeah, the reason why my face cam is off because I just wanted you guys to get like the whole like screen time of like what I'm thinking, how I'm thinking, just blab on my thoughts here. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.